Well, hello, and welcome once again to 25 o'clock. I'm your host, Dan Drago. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking out the show. On the show this week, from Wilmington, Delaware, Rachel Schain, singer-songwriter, scene stalwart. She was kind of my introduction to the Wilmington music scene many years ago. She's still around, still making records. She has a new EP coming out called Enough. That's out on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, all those places. You can check it all out, rachelschain.com. She's on Facebook and all that too. But we're going to talk more about Rachel in just a minute. Hi, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. Yeah, it's been a great couple of weeks between this episode and last episode. I hope you've all enjoyed it. If you're new to the show, if you're a Rachel fan and this is the first time you ever listen to the show, may I highly recommend going to 25o'clockpod.com. That's the website here for the show. You can check out the archives. All 50-plus episodes are up there for free for streaming or downloading. You can join the mailing list. That's right on the front page. You can check out Facebook, check out our Twitter. You can check out the Friends and Neighbors page. That's where I link information to anyone and everyone who's ever been on the show or part of the show. Or somewhat related to the show. You can get information about them there. Go to 25o'clockpod.com. Do it. So last weekend, I was able to, not last weekend, this previous week, I'm going to level with you all. I haven't had a day off from work in probably a week and a half at this point. So, I'm starting to crack up a little bit, and a week and a half isn't even. No, I'm exaggerating right there, but it's been about 8 or 9 days at this point. So I'm starting to lose track of what day it is, or what time it is, or when I did things in the immediate past. But the previous Saturday, to when we're talking, I was fortunate enough to speak on a panel about podcasting for CBI, which is College Broadcasters Incorporated, and they had college kids in from all over the country for a conference here in Philadelphia about not just radio and television, but podcasting too. That seemed to be very much a thing that was being talked about. So I got to present in a panel type environment with fellow Philadelphia podcaster Tika Karuna, who not only is one of the founders of the Philadelphia Podcasting Society, which is sort of a online and real life social group of a lot of Philadelphia podcasters, and they're the ones who put on, her and her husband Nathan are the ones that put on the Philadelphia Podcast Festival every year. I got to be on a panel with her. We got to talk about podcasting. It was great. It was great to sit in a room with a lot of young people who were really into podcasting. A lot of them were college broadcasters, and they were trying to do podcasts with their own college radio stations, and that was cool, and we were happy to answer questions and help them out. And I met some really engaged, just really tuned in young people who really wanted to know how to do something the best that they could, and I thought that was excellent. And it's funny because Rachel and I, in the ensuing conversation, talk about this very subject. It's great to see like turned on, driven young people with access to really, really great, really accessible technology like we have right now. The fact that I can do a podcast, I'm sitting in my basement right now for Pete's sake, recording a whole episode of a show that I put out into the world, and I never really have to leave my house if I don't want to. And let me tell you, very often I do not want to leave my house. But the technology is there. It's fairly inexpensive. It's very easy to use. And there's a generation of young people right now who are coming into this technology like it's a given. They didn't have to wait for it. It was just there when they were old enough to want to make stuff. And now that they're old enough to want to make stuff, it's just boom, they can do it. And we can get jaded and say that a lot of crap gets made that way. But I prefer to focus on the young people that I met at this conference who are just really into making good podcasts and really asking great questions and really having the access and the technical means to do so. So if any of them, if any of y'all who met me are listening to the show for the first time, it was great to meet everybody, and go out and make stuff, and don't worry too much about whether or not it's perfect the first time, the second time, or even the 40th time. Here I am on 50-something episodes, and I'm still getting better. I'm still figuring out ways to do stuff better, ways to talk to people better, ways to put the show out better, little technical things that you all don't even need to know about that I'm kind of tweaking with and perfecting to try and make the show better. I guess the point I'm making is that you ain't going to get it the first time or the second time or the 40th time. So just keep working. And that's something Rachel and I talk about in our conversation. We talk about young people, especially musicians, just really, the ones who are really talented, having such a great advantage of being able to sort of embrace elements of technology now and really make excellent art and make an excellent product to put out into the world. That's one of the many things we talk about. So let's just get right to it. Let's get right to my conversation with Rachel Schain. Like I said, she has a new EP out now called Enough. We talk all about it and many other things. So let's talk to Rachel here on 25 o'clock. That's the Venice Boys on there too. And,
nope.
Oh.
No, the Venice Boys are backing me up for the show, but that's so the guy who produced it did the guitars and the basses.
Okay.
And the drum programming on All My Friends Hate You.
Okay, that's I couldn't tell if that was programmed or if that was played.
It's programmed.
Okay.
It's programmed pretty convincingly.
No, it's good. You can do a lot of that nowadays too.
Yeah. And then the other two tracks have this guy named Masno Al-Mosiki playing percussion.
Is he from Wilmington?
He lives in the Baltimore area.
Okay. How did you hook up with him?
So, short version of the story is friend of a friend, Baltimore open mic at a place called T-Volve.
In Baltimore?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, you're not that far from was it like an hour to Baltimore, give or take?
It's about an hour, and my parents live there, so it's a real non-issue.
Yeah.
And he's a super awesome dude. Like, you got to check out his music. He's amazing. He's Sudanese, and he plays like I think on the ladder he's playing a Nubian hand drum.
Oh, okay.
No. The Nubian hand drums are on Empty Cup. He's playing the djembe on the ladder.
Yeah. No, that was interesting to listen to it and hear like the difference in percussion styles, just the whole difference in arrangement styles on this EP versus the other records you've made. Where are you from? Are you from Delaware originally, or?
No, I'm from Danbury, Connecticut.
Ah, I knew that. No, I knew this all coming back because I had you on the live show back like a year or so ago.
Yeah.
You're from Connecticut. How did you get here then?
So I met my husband, Adam, at college. He's from Long Island. We lived on Long Island together for a little bit after college.
How was that?
It was Long Island. It was Long Island.
It was an island. It was long.
It was a Long Island. No, there were things about Long Island that I did enjoy. I would not go live there again.
It's very close to the ocean. That is what I will give Long Island, is that you can get to the ocean easily, but you live in Delaware where you can also get to the ocean very easily.
I can get to the ocean just fine.
Yes. Still there, same ocean.
Also, I'm like super pale, so me and the beach, not friends.
Yeah.
Like, not that I have anything against beaches. It's just that like the sun sees me and it's like, oh hey, it's you. You're gonna turn into a lobster now. Bye.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't generally. I'm not a beach person.
I am not either. I don't care for. I like the natural beauty of being in the water, and I don't mind swim here and there, but like I'm not going to sit out in the sun. That's the stupidest thing possible that I could do.
We are the pale people.
Yeah.
We are the cave dwellers.
Yeah. I like to find a good tree.
Yes, trees are lovely. I like trees. So anyway, so we were on Long Island for a little while, and then his job. Well, in the coincidental sense, then my parents were planning to move down to Baltimore. We went on a house hunting trip with them. And then 2 weeks, and we liked it. We were like, you know what? Maybe we should consider moving to Baltimore eventually, you know? And then about 2 weeks after that, Chase, where my husband works, bought Bank One and said, everybody in your office is moving to Delaware or finding a new job. So we said, okay, so we're moving to Delaware.
It's like Baltimore. It's close enough.
It is close enough. And the reasons for moving to Baltimore applied for moving to Delaware as well. And this way, I'm also not like in my parents' backyard. Because I love them. They're wonderful human beings. My mom's my best friend. But you know what?
A little space.
An hour is a lovely distance.
Yep.
It's a beautiful drive.
Yep.
That's all I need.
Eliminates too many of the drop-ins, you know.
Yeah.
On both sides, too.
You took the words out of my mouth.
I'm
exactly.
I'm sure they want quiet as well.
Yeah. Well, especially, you know, I mean, if I lived in the same town as my parents, they would be babysitting like weekly.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, so you grew up in Connecticut and then in Danbury too, which is
practically New York.
Yeah. Okay. So that's right near Greenwich and near.
No,
it's north, right?
So if you can picture the square. That is, or the rectangle that is the state of Connecticut.
All too well, yes.
Okay, so if you picture the square that is the state of Connecticut, on the western border, about midway up.
Okay. Yep.
The western border. So it's the first town that you hit when you're on 84.
Okay.
Coming into Connecticut.
And do you have siblings?
Nope, only child.
Okay, all right. What was your draw to music as a kid? Like, I mean, what's a tiny Rachel Schain into running around Connecticut?
Tiny Rachel Schain loved music more than pretty much anything in the entire universe.
Do your parents play or?
My mom plays guitar. My mom was a cellist when she was younger. My dad likes to joke that he plays the stereo and sings in Q flat unnatural. But both of my parents are music lovers. I'm a child of two, my mom's like a Peter, Paul, and Mary, Judy Collins type. My dad has this inexplicable love of new age music, so I got exposed to like all that Windham Hill.
Yeah, I was about to say Windham Hill stuff from the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
That's great. I probably one of the few people who can be like, oh yeah, Windham Hill. Yeah.
Windham Hill. David Lance. I took my dad to see David Lance at the Grand Opera House a couple years ago. There haven't been many times in my life that I've seen my father that kind of happy.
Yeah.
He was just giddy. And he plays it pretty close to the chest. You know what I mean? Like he's
of that generation of men. It's just like, I'm here. I will go to work. You will all be alive.
Yeah, my dad's pretty stoic sometimes, although he does have like a really corny sense of humor. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have the exuberance of enthusiasm that I do.
Yeah.
And then for him to see him at that David Lance concert, he was like a little kid. He was so happy. And then I got to introduce, we went to the meet and greet afterwards. He was just, oh my God, he was crazy. And I love taking my dad to things that make him that kind of giddy.
Yeah.
You know, he's a sci-fi guy too. So I've taken him to Comic-Con and I took him to Star Trek conventions and things like that. I bought him a photo op with George Takei.
Oh yeah.
Once. That was awesome. And I bought him a photo op with Patrick Stewart and William Shatner when they were at Philly
when
Wizard
they're doing
World.
the captain's thing, yeah.
Yeah. He was so cute. My dad was just adorable.
So you're growing up with the sci-fi in the house and the music in the house.
Sci-fi and music. That's how I
pretty
became
much
me.
Poised to be cool in your 30s, but not.
Not cool.
No, I said that to. I don't know who I was talking to, where I said. It was a conversation. I was just like, it wasn't like, you don't understand. I'm like, you didn't live through the 90s where like none of this was okay. You and like your little nerd clique had your little lunch table at the end where you talked about Star Trek and Star Wars and Doctor Who and Rush and things like that. I'm like, that was not cool.
No.
Now it's just like, now every comic book I've ever read is being made into a major motion picture. And
yeah.
I was like, I couldn't even talk about comic books when I was 12 or 13 except to like 5 people.
For what it's worth, I, as a small child, did not get into the sci-fi quite as much as I did until I got into college. When I got into college, that's when I really did the superhero sci-fi thing.
Yeah.
Like Star Trek was always in the house.
So so Star Trek The Next Gen was like the Star Trek in your house.
Yeah. In fact, so I love going to cons. So like I have a million stories about the time I met that guy from Star Trek. And so we met Will Wheaton at PAX a couple of years ago, and I went up to him and I was like, dude, I grew up watching, like, this is, my dad and I bonded watching, Next Gen. And he was so sweet. And it was like a long story. It tied into what he had been talking about he had been talking about how he and his sons bond. And I was like, well, you bonded over that. Well, I bonded over your show. So, but yeah, no, when I was a little kid, what I loved more than anything else in the entire universe was music and performing, in just general performance. I took dance lessons. I had Grease memorized. Annie was my very first obsession. I had a little Annie doll it was like the doll that went everywhere.
Yeah.
So that went everywhere with me. And so I have a very long running love of musical theater.
Did you do theater and stuff when you were in school, in high school and all that?
Yeah, I did. What's funny is I was an absolutely terrible singer until I was about 12.
What switched? Did you take lessons or in choirs or anything like that?
So I was in choir. I sang in music class and I sang in the choruses, and I wasn't good until I was about 12. And the only thing I can say is that I loved it so much and I just kept doing it even though I was bad, and nobody discouraged me enough to tell me to stop.
Well, it's not like you're going to tell a 9 or 10-year-old girl that, some people would, I'm sure. But
lots of people would.
Yeah, but it's just let them do it terribly. Let them, in the words of Community, let them sing their heart's awkward song.
Britta.
Yes.
Oh, Britta.
That is a saying in my household. Whenever someone is being weird, it's like, that's okay, just sing your heart's awkward song, and we'll get through it.
It's accurate. No, I was a terrible singer, and I just loved it so much I kept doing it. So I didn't have a lot of success in theater and such in school. I had a couple of little roles here and there, but not. I didn't play any real leads until I got to college, and then in college I got to play. So my freshman year of college, I made a theater department production of "Merrily We Roll Along." And that was a small part, but I like to mention that anyway because Ingrid Michaelson and I were in the small part section together.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then also later that year, I played Rose in Gypsy, which is the main role.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. When did you start playing? Did you take piano lessons when you were a kid, or
a little bit?
You said your mom played the guitar, so there's probably there's always a guitar around the house.
Yeah, I actually I took some piano lessons when I was 9, 10 years old, but I wasn't really good at practicing, so I stopped.
No 9 or 10-year-old is good at practicing.
Some are better than others.
There's every once in a while you'll get the kids who are can become laser focused at a certain age, but almost everyone I've ever talked to is I took piano lessons for 2 or 3 years, but I was 8 and I just wanted to run around outside. So it's hard to get an 8-year-old to sit on this hard bench and play this thing that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I actively wanted to learn music because I loved it so much. So I think it was still worthwhile. I taught myself to play guitar. I spent a summer in Israel on a teen tour when I was 16. And while I was there, I was able to, borrow a guitar and learn a couple of chords. And then when I came home, my mom gave me a guitar for my 16th birthday.
Ooh, what was it?
It was a secondhand classical thing.
You still have it?
No, actually, I donated it a couple years ago to a little girl who it's a sad story. She was a foster child, and she had a grandma who was stealing all her stuff, and her grandma had stolen her guitar, and she couldn't get her guitar, and I was heartbroken. I couldn't handle the thought of this girl who had promise and already had enough bad things going on in her life that I was like, you know what? I'm not playing this guitar.
Yeah.
She can have it. So that's where that guitar went.
At least it went to a good place. It didn't it didn't break.
No.
Or you didn't lose it.
No, not at all. I have enough guitars in my house as is.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, I see that. You have me beat. You have more than I do, but yours are more electric.
There's another acoustic upstairs.
Oh, is
too.
there?
Yeah.
I have more acoustics than electrics. I have 3 acoustics and 1 electric.
I want another acoustic. I have no need for one. I have 2.
Yeah.
And at some point, you're just like, why do you need a third 6-string acoustic guitar? I would get a 12 if I had, for no other reason than I just like them. I don't know.
Sure.
I doubt I'd play it or anything like that. The yellow guitar right there was bought well after the breakup of The Way Home. Like I had no live applications for it. The fatter yellow one.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I ever played it live was when we got back together a couple months ago. And it was fun. And I was really excited to play. I was like, oh my gosh, I get to play this thing live. I haven't actually played this guitar live yet.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That's really big. No, I have 3 guitars for a reason. Like my mom, my main guitar for a number of years was my Martin that my parents got me as a college graduation gift.
Beautiful instruments.
Yes.
Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I have.
You ever been up there?
Oh yes, I've been a couple of times. The law firm where I worked before my son was born, one of the women who worked there with me is the daughter of the guy who was in-house counsel there for
their
a
lawyer
years. Yeah. So like they're family friends with the Martin family, like actual C.F. Martin, the guy.
Cool! Wow.
And so she had like this special tour that she arranged for summer associates one summer. And they were like, oh, hey, Rachel, you play Martins. Why don't you come with us? And I was like, yes, I would love to do that. And I think I've been back once or twice, 2 other times. But
I went when I was a kid. I think I was 11 or 12 or something like that. And I remember going and seeing it and just being enamored by just the number of, because you go that like there's the wall, like the wall of like finished guitar, like all the different kinds from the different eras. Do you know they throw out any guitar that does not meet like their got to be like 12 or 15 point standards of 15 point of standard inspection? Like if one thing is slightly off, they don't even rebrand it. Like a lot of other guitar companies will like rebrand the guitar under a different name, sell for lower cost. They're so obsessed with quality that they're just like, no, if it's not completely perfectly up to our standards, we destroy it.
Well, that's a beautiful way to run a business. I'm glad that they're able to stay in business doing that.
Well, those things ain't cheap, but
no, they are not.
No. Even the cheap ones aren't cheap.
My graduation present one was like the low model.
Yeah. I mean, that's a dreadnought. That's a dreadnought from like the early '60s.
Wow.
That's my father-in-law's.
Wow.
I love that thing. Nothing sounds like that guitar. But there are various, like the pick guard is starting to come up off of it in the wood, and I thought to myself like, oh, I got to find a luthier or something like that. And I realized like, why don't I just take it home? Why don't I take it back to its home?
Yes.
And like
that's what you should absolutely do.
Get them to fix it. Like they would probably dig to see it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My mom has a Martin from the 60s. I don't know what she's doing with it right now, but my grandfather bought it. My grandfather was a psychiatrist, and he like brought a guitar into the house so that his patients could play the guitar. I don't know. Yeah. I don't really know much about what my grandfather did for a living, but anyway.
He forced people to play guitar in his house.
You will play guitar. No,
that creates more anxiety, I think.
I think it was from like an art therapy standpoint. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's why my mom had a Martin back in the 60s. Anyway, so I have that one, and then I was playing that guitar at an outdoor gig one time, and my mom got like a little anxiety about it, and she was like, this guitar is too nice. Like you should have a less expensive guitar.
You should have a beater.
Yeah. So that's when I bought my friend's Ibanez. And it's not a very good. It needs a lot of work.
They're not great acoustic guitars. Not now. Like they were once.
Yeah.
They were an old lawsuit company too. Like they were an old Japanese company that was ripping off American body designs, but then went legit. That's my particular one of my particular nerd rabbit holes right there.
I'm impressed.
Is Japanese 1960s and 70s era Japanese lawsuit guitar companies. That's what the era is called. It's called the lawsuit era because like the Japanese are just like, yeah, what is that? A Fender Strat? Yeah, we're just going to make one that looks exactly like that and sell it for way less.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, there's tons of them. That little guy on the end, that's a bass. That's a short scale Tesco bass from Japan in the 70s that is awful. I really got kind of hosed on that when I bought it on eBay. I'll never buy another Japanese lawsuit item on eBay ever again.
No.
Because you can't look at it, you can't hold it up, and so many people mislabel them as they like, oh, this is a Japanese lawsuit. I'm like, no, that's Sears in the 80s, like, but you kind of can't tell, and like they don't have their markings. A lot of them don't even have serial numbers.
No.
But the plan is to turn that into a 4-string tenor guitar.
Oh, nice.
That plan was like from 4 years ago, and as we can see, I've done nothing.
Yeah. I have so many plans from like 10 years ago that have no.
There's so many things like that tape machine behind you. I'm just like, I'm gonna fix that and make it not scratchy, and I'm not. It's a nice furniture piece right now, is what it is.
It adds to the design of the room.
There you go.
And
I hate treating instruments and like things that actually do music things like furniture, like pieces of aesthetic decoration, like people who would like hang a guitar on the wall but don't play. I knew someone too who like collected guitars, not even particularly great ones or not great ones. They just whatever they liked the visual look of, and they just put it on the wall. And I was just like, oh, do you play it? They're like, no. I'm like, never once. Like you have 6 guitars on your wall. You never once got it in your head. Maybe I'd like to figure out how to play these.
I don't understand people who put records on their wall.
The actual record. I mean, I'll take old jackets and stuff like that. There's a whole collector's world of old jackets that you frame, but like
but that's paper.
Yeah.
That's not.
You mean like the actual vinyl record?
Like the actual vinyl record, you've completely and totally destroyed anybody's ability to use. Like it doesn't. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're gonna do that, more power to you. It's none of my business. But like whatever, it's not.
If you want to buy things and put them on the wall, go nuts.
Yeah. Sure. No, but then so after I was playing the beater for a while, and then so one of my best friends from college, her father is a luthier, and he owns his own guitar company that he builds guitars. He has a shop in his like a little shed in their front yard, and he goes out there and he builds guitars, really beautiful guitars. And one day he said to me, look, I'm starting a program. I'm calling it the Guitars for Stars program. And I'm building guitars for people who, I think have careers in music. And so I'm going to charge you, I'm going to build you a custom guitar, anything you want. We can design it together. And I will charge you for the case. And you will have a custom build for the cost of a case. And all you have to do
is be a star.
Sure. And all you have to do is like, if you like the guitar, play it and tell people where you got it when you get it, when they ask you about it. So that's how I have my Ledoux guitar. My Ledoux guitar is the greatest thing on the face of the planet.
I think I've played that once or twice too. I think I've done a strum or two. I like that thing. That feels good.
It's a beautiful guitar. And I love playing it. I'm not worthy of that guitar. Let's call that what that is. I am not worthy. I am very lucky to be friends with Mr. Ledoux's daughter. Yeah. And that is how I have a guitar just like that. It's beautiful. Yeah, she's a great guitar.
When did you start writing your own songs?
The true answer about that is when I was like 8.
What's the fake answer? Oh, you mean just like at 8, just like being a kid, like making up your own little songs?
Yeah, we have some videos of me like singing terrible things, like we wrote. Me and my childhood best friend wrote songs about how we were gonna fly away from her little sister, and writing like songs. I think I started really pursuing that when I was like 15. But like, so you know the Ira Glass the Ira Glass quote about how people who have love of music have great taste, and so when they try to start writing for themselves, they disappoint themselves.
Yeah.
And so they give up.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah. No, that's probably been a struggle with myself for my entire life. Yeah. Is loving the big guy and gals, like loving these like monster icons of songwriting. Like, like I don't understand how after you listen to like Elvis Costello, you can ever like try and go write a song. You just like, you sit there and just be like, nope. Or like Harry Nilsson or something like that. You just hear that stuff. You're just like, I should never. Why am I even trying? It's already been said. Elvis Costello was exactly who I was going to say there. I love Elvis Costello. That's number one. Number two, yes, exactly. Like I was comparing myself to Elvis Costello and Tori Amos, and I was like, well, clearly I suck. Why am I even trying? Yeah.
And then in college, a friend of mine persuaded me to give it another shot, and I started writing more. And then after college, I chickened out again. I go through cycles of my life where like I'm making music and I'm going to do this. And then like I chicken out and then I stop doing it for a while. And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to give up on myself. I'm going to get out there again. And so that's like the never-ending creativity cycle. I think everybody has that problem.
Well,
but mine are just
what's
huge.
the goal in right there? Because I mean, some people, it's like when you're younger, you get the idea in your head to like pursue music like as a job, as a career, as like a thing you will do all the time. Obviously, that probably entered your head at some point.
Oh yeah, it still is my goal.
Yeah,
it's absolutely still is my goal. It's just that sometimes the fear of failure takes over to a larger extent and for longer periods of time than I would like it to. Or, you have a child and that child becomes the center of your attention in your world and like everything else is secondary. And so things like that happen.
Yeah. You make it sound so. I was walking around one day and there was this kid and it was mine. I guess it's mine.
I actually, when I talk about like when he was born, like when I tell people the birth story, I had him in a water birth because I'm that kind of ridiculous hippie. And when I tell people about it, I say the pain stopped. Then they pulled a baby out of the water, put it on my chest, and told me it was mine.
Yeah, like
it was that level of surreal.
Yeah,
and like I was walking down the street, and then they said, "Oh, this is your baby," and I'm like, "Oh, I have a child." Sure.
Thank you, authority.
Yeah, exactly. They pulled a baby out of the water and they said it was mine.
Gave it to you. You're just like, well, it must be mine. I don't know how many other babies there are.
I think I was here to have one of these. So, yeah.
I imagine at some point that the physical pain shuts off any real perception of what's going on.
The pain stopped and then there was a baby. That's how that goes.
Good. At least the pain stopped. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. That, I mean, and a lot of us, as we go through life, sort of reassess our level of commitment to whatever it is that we're doing. And I think that can make a lot of us feel like failures too. Like when you get to a certain age, you move in your 20s and your 30s, you get married, you have kids, you get a certain kind of job or lifestyle that is more demanding than it was previously in your life, where all you had to do was like, go to class, screw off, and play guitar.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people view that as a failure. Be like, if I'm not making music as a full-on, that's all my life, all my career, all my choices, then clearly I'm not into it as much, so I should just stop altogether. It's this very hot and cold thing right there, where if I'm not pursuing this as a full-time career, then I'm wasting my time, which, as I've gotten older, I realize is complete bullshit. Like, that's a stupid thing to tell yourself.
Well, I thank you. I'll call you next time I go through that phase, and you can tell me it's complete bullshit. And then it's just
I talk myself down from it all the time, where I'm just like, I pick up the guitar and I'm just like, what do you care? You're not in a band. I'm like, yeah, but who cares? I like it.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
For me, it's just a matter of like, am I really good enough? Does anybody give a shit? If I stopped playing music tomorrow, would anybody even notice? Okay.
Yeah, the imposter system. Am I good enough to even do this in the first place?
That too. And I think what's great about this particular line of discussion is that it plays right into the feelings and the emotions that led me to write Empty Cup on the record.
Oh, yeah.
Because that song is about something that I think a lot of moms go through, a lot of people in general, but I've had this discussion a lot with some of my mom friends where we feel like we put everybody else first, and then at the end of the day there's nothing left in the tank.
Yeah.
You know? And like you just give up on yourself.
Yeah. And like the idea of trying to keep anything in that tank to like not put it all out there. You worry that like people would view you as not giving it your all, I'm not as good a mom as the other moms because they're all, they run around to 6 soccer practices this week and we're only going to 3. Like it's like, but what even is that? I mean, and I can definitely empathize. I don't have kids and I'm not a mom, but
sure.
Like I can definitely empathize where there are people looking at you, or whether they're looking at you or not, and chances are no one's looking at you to begin with, but like that's just how we perceive things.
Exactly.
Where you're just like, oh, well, if I'm not doing it like this, or if I'm not like engaged at the level that I think everyone else is engaged with their children or engaged, with their schools or with their activities, then I must be a bad mom, and all the moms are going to think I'm a bad mom, and they're going to get together in their mom groups and talk about how I'm such a bad mom.
Exactly.
And literally nobody does this, but I don't know. Maybe, well, they do it online.
Yeah, the mommy wars is a real thing.
Oh no, it's like of course it is. The internet took everything and turned it kind of awful, great and awful simultaneously.
Exactly. What is wonderful about the internet is that you can find people who are just like you.
You can find your community. Yeah.
What is terrible about the internet is that you can also find people just like you. I think it's taken our political landscape.
Those people can find you too.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's just, and it's been a great tool as an artist and a musician and as a podcast. I mean, the podcasts don't exist without the internet. Otherwise, we're just dudes pretending to have radio shows in our basements, trading tapes around. Although that was a thing too. Like people would make fake tape radio shows and trade them to each other. That was the earliest podcast, probably.
I'm pretty sure that when I was a kid, I made some fake radio shows.
I made so many fake radio tapes.
I never gave them to anybody.
I don't know. They're gone. Me and my brothers used to do it. My brother would do weird voices, or I would enact dramatic interpretation readings of Shel Silverstein poems with like sound effects and like all mouth sound effects and voices and stuff like that.
So when I was in college, my final project for my composition class was to set a poem to music, and I chose Shel Silverstein's "Sick."
Oh yeah.
And I basically made that song into like an operetta. Like, I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. And then like I did this whole thing
with the bumps and the bumps. And
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. There is a recording out there. Maybe someday people will get to hear it.
Should be a bonus track.
Oh, maybe I should put it out as
if people buy your EP digitally or something like that, you'll mail them the weird Shel Silverstein opera track.
You know what? I very well might do that.
There we go.
It's a live recording from my senior recital in college, but
no, that's great. And it can be out there now on the internet. No, but back to what we were saying about the like you can find your people now. It's so much easier to find your people. Whereas in like when we were growing up, you were kind of just left to pick from the pool of people that were just physically around you, be it in middle school or high school, and that can really be a crapshoot.
Big time.
I mean, you find your people in high school, hopefully, and when you get to college, you find more of your people. But like we were pretty much limited to like if they're not. If I can't see them, then chances are they're not there. And now, you can go on and have, little internet communities of everyone who likes, Star Trek or what have you.
The nerds.
Yes, and that's, with
I
that
have
being
this-
so prevalent now, I think that's what's, brought the nerd culture back
I have
around.
an amazing community of friends that I made because of the band OK Go.
Oh, yeah, you're a huge OK Go fan.
I have some amazing friends all over the country and, quite frankly, all over the world.
Yeah.
That I've made friends with these people because of our mutual love of OK Go.
They're an interesting band, too. They've never been a huge commercial success, but they've seemed to be able to sustain their career while making the music they make, but being particularly like visually minded. Because I know that it's their videos that's kind of made them famous more than I can tell you things about probably 5 OK Go videos, but I couldn't tell you a thing about their music. It just I can't always remember, but I definitely remember the visuals. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the visuals are really memorable, and what they love, they're a huge inspiration to me, just on like multiple levels of life and of art. But they basically spend their lives trying to make cool shit.
Yeah.
And that to me is the ultimate, like, that's the dream.
Yeah.
Make cool shit.
Now I really think that when you start to get career minded and stuff like that in a band or with other people or as a musician, you can lose that sort of that spark of wonder where it'd just be like, you want to blow everyone else's hair back, but first you want to blow your own hair back. So, you're just trying stuff. And sometimes you can start to water your stuff down and be like, oh, well, let me do it like this because they liked it when I did it like this the last time. And it's not to say that you shouldn't like build upon things that you did before or, kind of move in an avenue where you're just like, well, this seems to be working right now. But I think the best artists are the ones who at any given point can just dash it all to the floor and just be like, let's try this. It's like the new Bon Iver record.
Which I haven't heard. So.
Well, everyone's losing their crap about it. It's very polarizing, both sides of the aisle. People saying it's the greatest thing ever. People saying it's the stupidest thing ever. And I've listened to it, and I haven't given it as much time as probably other people have. I'm not a huge Bon Iver fan. Like, he's fine. But it's an interesting record. It really is. Like, sonically, it's just, I'm like, wow. I'm like, if anything else, whether I like it or don't like it, I'm just like, dude's trying some shit, so let the dude try some shit.
I completely agree on the idea of artists evolving and because you know what? I already have that record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I heard your take on this. Yeah. I heard your attempts at this. Yeah. Now I want to see you do something new and interesting. And while, like everyone really liked that first record, and that first record was really good. But you know what? You have that first record.
Yeah.
Listen to it again.
Yeah, exactly. If David Bowie had stopped evolving after his first record, he just would have been another 60s like folky troubadour.
Yeah.
We would not have gotten all the other stuff that he wanted to do. And he was always a guy too that when he would finish a record or a tour, he just kind of never wanted to deal with it again for a while. You got to try stuff, and some of it's gonna suck. It's cool. I know that's hard to tell yourself when you're in the midst of sucking. But like,
this is not good.
Yeah. When I'm sucking, I'm not thinking to myself like, no, this is a building experience, and later we will find the good things. I'm just like, this sucks.
Have you ever seen the Disney movie Meet the Robinsons?
No.
It's all right. So I'm also a Disney fanatic. Like we could have an entire podcast just listing all of the things I love and I'm obsessed with in life.
You should have your own podcast where you just talk about it. This week, Rachel loves Disney movies.
Rachel loves Disney movies. No, so Meet the Robinsons, like, man. So Disney has this amazing ability to always like come out with a movie that like tells me exactly what I need to hear at that point in my life. And when that movie came out, I was like in the midst of this huge, quarter life crisis. Like, I've wasted my life. I'm never going to be famous. I'm never going to have a career in music. And I've chickened out for too long and my chances are over. Right. And then that movie talks like the tagline of that movie is keep moving forward. So like whatever happened in the past, learn from it.
Yeah.
It was a learning experience. You found a way that didn't work. Congratulations. Try a different way now.
Yeah. Don't do that thing then.
And that's what that movie That's the message of that movie. And it came out, and I'm not kidding. I was literally the only person in the movie theater because I saw it that late, and that like late in its release.
Yeah.
It was almost out of the theater.
So it was like literally that movie was playing for you. Like that was it's like someone says, go into this room and this movie is going to tell you stuff that you need to know.
Yes, and I sat there in tears. I was alone in the theater, and I'm watching this, and I'm like moved because it's telling me exactly what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Disney does this to me all the time. It's a little silly, but it is what it is.
Oh, you get what you need to hear from the places that you need to get it from.
Well, that's very true too. Everyone's going to take the message. Like people are going to hear this record and they're going to take what they need to take from it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's a lot of stuff in it that's really personal to me and like specific to things that are going on in my life.
Yeah. Just from listening to it and the lyrics, there is more direct than the Lilac Face record.
Yeah.
And I love the Lilac Face record. What I like about this EP is that the Lilac Face record, it was definitely like it's Rachel Schain with band is kind of what it was, and it's great, and it's the Venice Sunlight guys, and they're phenomenal dudes, and
Totally.
And they backed you up. They backed you up great. Like that's. But this one, even just the 3 tracks on there, they all have a distinct sound because what's sort of powering the songs behind it is not the same band on every track.
Right.
Like you've got the same producer, obviously. You've got Andre throughout all of this. And,
No, Andre's not the producer.
oh,
on
he's
this.
not. Oh,
No.
these are me and my assumptions and my lack of preparation.
Forgiven.
Yeah.
No, I recorded this down in Arlington, Virginia, with a guy named Howard Rayback.
Oh, cool.
So he and I met at the Future of Music Coalition's Policy Summit last October.
Wow.
And
That's a mouthful right there.
yeah. I love the Future of Music Coalition, which is actually thanks to OK Go. I found out about them through OK Go. Damien was speaking at a FMC event, and I looked them up, and I was like, I really like what these people have to say. I'm going to go to their policy summit.
The Future of Music Coalition sounds both very positive and full of action and also vague at the same time.
Well, yeah. They are a political action group. They are based in DC, and they lobby for musicians' interests and musicians' rights in a way that the RIAA has not really done. The RIAA is great for the big labels.
Yeah. If you have a large career and a lot of money is put behind you and you're making a lot of money, the RIAA is probably pretty good for protecting you there. But if you're just even a regional splash or something like that, they still don't care about you.
Yeah. FMC is, they are interested in creating what they call the musician's middle class.
Interesting.
Which is something that, like, obviously people are going to be like, there's going to be the top tier, the people who are the Lady Gagas, the Bonos, whatever, the people making money hand over foot.
Yeah.
But there shouldn't just be those guys and the people starving.
Yeah.
There needs to be people who are working.
And that's been the case. I mean, the whole music industry sort of based, there was always sort of a large middle class of, be them songwriters or session players, but even that is shrinking more and more. There's more and more music being made, but it seems like, at least from a professional standpoint, there's less and less people making it. I'm not talking about like people that we know, but like when you're in the studio system, it seems like there are less and less people at that level, but still more and more music is being made. I don't understand how that works, but
I don't either.
Yeah.
So the Future Music Coalition has a policy summit, and I met Howard last year, and the two of us basically it was instant click.
It's like Step Brothers. Did you not just become best friends?
Kinda.
Yeah.
Kinda. It was like, oh, hey, you like Elvis Costello and you're a Jew from New York? Yes. Okay. We're besties now. And so
what are the odds?
Yeah. And so he generously gave me the opportunity to just come down and record in his studio.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? This is an opportunity that I cannot pass up.
Yeah, and to work with different people to kind of step out of your comfort zone. And that's always fun as a musician too, especially a solo musician, because you can very much alter the course by simply just changing who your producer is or changing just working with a percussionist instead of instead of a full band.
Exactly.
So Howard played a lot of the other tracks.
Yeah,
Okay.
Howard did most of the instrumentation on the record. He did all the guitars, all the basses, the drum programming on All My Friends Hate You.
Yeah.
And then we worked together for about a week. And then there was another week later on where I came back down and recut all the vocals again.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful working experience. And the man really, really cares. He's a fantastic producer to work with, and I can't say enough good things about him. I think the record is as good as it is because of the amount of love and care he put into it.
Well, it's that thing about always moving forward, right there. Where it's definitely a forward movement from the Lilac Face record. Where
Definitely.
the Lilac Face record, I feel like you did the same thing that I've done at various points in my life, which is just like, look, I just want to make a full length. Like, let's get together the means and people and resources that we have at this moment, and let's make a full length record. And let's not worry about if it's the full length record. Let's just make it based on our circumstances right now. And then I'm always thinking about the next one, not in a, oh, this sucks, I can't wait to make a next one, but just like, we're going to make this now. Later we'll make another one, and then we'll be able to compare them, but you got to make the first one first.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that was so much the case. I mean, the songs that I put on Lilac Face were mostly things that I had been writing like over the years. It was like everything that I'd written in my adult phase of writing.
So you had a lot to pull from right there.
Yeah, and they all had I had reason to put all of them on the record. They all had like an important like spot in the cavalcade of Rachel Schain. That's not the right word, but you understand what I'm saying.
The pantheon.
The pantheon of my writing. That doesn't sound self-centered at all.
No,
it's
fun.
It's not even remotely accurate. But those songs all mean, like, when I write a song, if you hear it, it means something to me.
Yeah, if you're going to take the time to go in and record it and do all the painful things that go in just simply recording a song.
Yeah. I have so much just crap that I have.
Everybody does.
But
people should admit it more too. It's just like, that's what I always tell people. People have been asking me lately, because Nick just put out his record, James is working on his, and people, like, somebody asked me, they're just like, well, when's yours? And I'm just like, dude, I'm sitting on folders and folders of unfinished crap.
Yes.
I'm like, and who knows? Maybe there is a record in there or not. I don't know. I'm probably the last person who would be able to tell you that.
Yeah. So, you come up with these little ideas, and they sit in your notes on your phone and, in your musical memos. But so if a song gets to the point where I am actually finishing it, it's good.
Yeah.
It's something that I want to put out there.
Yeah.
But that said, Lilac Face also came out of that period of very deep tragedy for me. It's when we lost the first baby. And so I was also just desperately trying to find hope.
Yeah.
And to claw my way out of the darkness at that point. So, I might have gone a little bit silly on that record because I was trying so hard.
Yeah. You yourself went silly, or the record came off as...
I myself went... I mean, if you look at those songs, right?
Well, yeah,
on that record,
they're very
all
lighthearted, yeah.
Yeah, it's all lighthearted, kind of witty, Coffee is about, like...
Coffee.
Coffee is about a really good-looking barista. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest.
Yeah.
It's about, not being able to talk in the presence of an exceptionally beautiful person. And then the Google thinks we're dating is just plain silly.
Yeah.
And, it came out of something that actually happened, but
yeah.
But things on that record are more silly. This record, I got a lot more serious because it was the record I needed to write.
Gotcha.
I mean, even All My Friends Hate You, which is kind of your standard Rachel Schain
that one,
silly.
When I heard that, so if the track listing is correct on here, I think I listened to it in the order that you're going to lay it down.
No. No.
I listened to Ladder, and then I listened to Empty Cup, and then I listened to All My Friends Hate You. That's how it came out for me.
No, empty on the actual thing. It's going to be Empty Cup, Ladder, All My Friends Hate You.
Because when I got to All My Friends Hate You, I wrote right here. I wrote, there we go. I was like, it's like, yay! I'm like the big Rachel Schain rock song.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
because I was listening to the first tune, and I was like, I liked it. I was like, this is great. I'm like, the whole record's going to sound like this. This is awesome. Like, this is great. And then I got to that one. I'm like, there we go.
That's what I was waiting for.
She's still there.
But yeah, of course.
Well, not that you're not there, but just, and not that I would have like thought less of the record if you hadn't done a big rock number. But I was just like, you got there. It's just like, you know, you brought us in with here's the new stuff, here's the new direction, and hey, I still like this, because you still like it. You still like the big rock song, of course.
I love the big rock song. Are you kidding me? I need the big rock song. Like, there would have been more of them on this record if it was not going to just be an EP from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But I'll say this about All My Friends Hate You. All My Friends Hate You is about, it's my take on the tragic and like the difficult, the bad things that happen to a lot of my girlfriends. Like, that song's not about anybody I dated. That song is about people my friends have dated.
And then later
I put them together, and I made kind of an amalgam narcissist ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
And like, my friends went through some seriously awful, awful shit as a result of these breakups. And so I wanted to write a song that had them coming back into the light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like getting through and healing and being okay. You know what I mean? So everything on this record comes from a very serious place. Yeah. But because I'm Jewish, everything, all pain can be dealt with through humor.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's the birth of modern comedy right there.
You know it.
Well, I definitely do want to talk about the EP, and I'm sorry that I didn't realize who was on it or not on it.
No, I didn't tell you.
No, it's true.
You had to guess.
I did guess.
If I had actually told you, you would have known. So no complaints, no arguments.
Yeah, it's I like the sort of protest song aspect of Ladder. It definitely reminded me of there's a certain sing-songy way that in the 60s some of those protest folk songs came out, like even like Phil Oakes' like Draft Dodger Rag or something like that, is a very serious, like damning, finger-pointing song right there, but yet presented in a very funny way. And Ladder isn't, you're not trying to be funny, but it reminded me of, you know, the song, did you ever, I mean, people know this from the TV show Weeds, but the song Little Boxes. Oh,
I'm vaguely familiar with it. I don't have Showtime, so I've never watched Weeds.
It's an old, I believe it's an old like 1930s or 40. I don't know when the song was written, but it's an old very socialist, very anti-establishment folk song done in kind of a sing-songy way. And that's what I thought of when I listened to Ladder. I was just like, this is some obviously real issues being talked about here. There's real stuff. But in the end, it's still a pop song. Like, we're still making a song that we would like other people to listen to.
Yes. Do you know Tramp the Dirt Down by Elvis Costello?
Yes.
That song has a lot of meaning to me. And that was actually, I think, a big reason. That's how the song ended up in 6/8.
Oh, that makes sense.
Also, there's a lot of Chrissie Hynde influence on that song. Like my vocals specifically. I you know, she's there. You know, Chrissie Hynde. Well, first of all, Chrissie Hynde likes Rockstar Bitch. Let's mention that. Chrissie Hynde, I know for a fact, liked that bitch song. So, quote unquote, that bitch song.
She's my favorite of the dark raven-haired front women of the 60s and of the 70s and 80s. Well, I like her way more than Joan Jett. I like Joan Jett fine, but like Chrissie Hynde has, I don't know, more depth.
Yep.
She didn't just sell herself as like just being like this sort of image of just the female image of like the rock and roll leather jacket jeans type person. She's got some working class vibe to her. She has a beautiful voice.
Yeah.
She's probably up there for me, like with any of the other big guys like Springsteen or Dylan or something like that. Chrissie Hynde goes right up there with me too.
She doesn't get nearly as much credit as I think
the Pretenders don't either. People know the hits, and the hits are great, but like they put out a body of work that's fantastic. and I think had a lot more depth and substance to it than a lot of other stuff coming out in the 80s. You give me the Pretenders or the Cars, like, and say who has more depth or substance. It's definitely the Pretenders.
Definitely.
And I love the Cars too, but the Cars were about partying and like big guitars and stuff like that. Cheap Trick was about big guitars and the suburbs and being funny and being very humorous. And like Chrissie Hynde she's got that working class vibe, that like the thing you described to Springsteen that you might not always describe to Chrissie Hynde.
But you should, because she has it.
Yep.
So one of my favorite quotes from her is that women in rock and roll have forgotten that it's not about fuck me, it's about fuck you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good quote. I like that.
Yeah. And so I kept that pretty firmly in mind when I was writing The Ladder.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that song comes out of. Also, like I just got sick of it, and I needed to say something political for once. Because
now, did you write that during like the election cycle? Did you write that before? Or?
So it's been going through my mind for a long time. Like
not
that
to
song,
like pinpoint the one song, because I think it can be. I think you could have written that song 10 years ago or 50 years from now, and I think it would probably still apply.
God, I sincerely hope that I'm not writing songs like that 50 years from now.
But but the sentiment of the people on top and the people on the bottom and things like that. I mean, that, hopefully it gets better in 50 years.
Oh,
but
God, I hope so.
It can't. Well, it could get worse. I was about to say, it can't get worse. I'm like,
no,
it could.
Yes, it could. So the ideas of like being sick of what specifically the religious right have to say about a lot of things. I have a line in the song, you hide behind God as if he's the matter.
Yep.
And I feel very strongly that people use God as an excuse to be awful sometimes, which makes me upset. As a religious person, I don't think that God gives us an excuse to be mean to each other. And if you are using God as an excuse to be a dick, then you have completely missed the point of religion. Yeah. And so anyway, but not to get overtly political, but hey, that's what the song is. I needed to make some statements about how I feel politically and socially about this world that we're living in. What finally drove me to complete the song, I will tell you, was when my son's school district budget did not pass.
Oh gosh. What did that end up meaning?
So thankfully they went back and they voted again, because a budget has to pass.
Yeah, or else people don't get paid, they don't open the doors, and kids don't get what they need, and teachers don't get paid. And you've got to pass the budget. So they went back and they voted again, and thankfully the second time around the parents came out in force. And it's unfortunate that it took it not passing the first time, but at least it could be remedied.
Yes. But it was dangerous. I mean, so as you and I have discussed before, and I have no problem talking about to the general public, my son has autism. So my son requires a very specific set of help and aids in his schooling.
Certain services need to be able to be provided by the school, and someone needs to be able to pay for that.
Exactly. And, there were people who I was hearing talking, being like, well, that's not my problem. Why do you expect me to pay for your kid? And because
it could be your kid.
Exactly.
Because what if it was your kid?
It doesn't matter whose kid it is.
I don't have any kids, and I pay I pay the taxes that go into the schools, and I don't care. I would never once consider that to be like, why am I paying for this? I don't have kids. I'm like, I don't know, but like these kids someday are hopefully gonna like keep me from like dying alone in the woods. So maybe,
yes, but you know what?
Maybe I should help.
even in the here and now.
Yeah.
Having kids in good quality school programs means that they are being occupied and they're not like on your yard tearing your shit up. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, when the kids are on my lawn,
Get off my lawn. But no, I mean, you understand where I'm coming from with this. I get it,
yeah.
It's in the here and now. You are making the world a better place for yourself right now.
By giving them something to do.
By giving these kids structure and attention and caring about their futures. It's a win-win-win situation that I think people constantly overlook. And yes, my son does have special needs, which means that, his education is going to cost more than the average kid's education. But you know what? So what?
Yeah.
So what?
Because he's not the only one. Like, there are other people's kids in the same thing, and just because you're not labeled with the brush of autism or developmental disability or some sort of learning disability at a certain age, it doesn't mean that at any point later in a kid's life they're going to need a little extra help on math or reading or something like that. Even if it's not as severe as what some other people have, you're still going to need those resources there to just like give someone a little help.
And being able to help these kids is only going to help everyone.
Yeah.
And if money is that important to you, let me also remind you that property values are very heavily linked to good school systems.
Yeah.
So if you have a school system with an excellent reputation, your property value goes up.
Yeah.
So if you're that concerned about your own wallet, this is still going to benefit you.
Yeah.
So that's why I really just got stabby when that school district, when that referendum did not pass. And I was like, F this, I'm going to write an effing song. And then I wrote the song. I released the song in like a preview format in support of the referendum the second time we did it. So it has been heard. It was heard at least a little bit by people. But the final version is now the final version.
Yeah. No, that's great. It's a whole series of events that brought that around. No, that's funny. And you live in the burbs more or less, right?
Yeah, I live in North Wilmington.
Yeah. So I did want to talk about Wilmington though.
I love Wilmington.
There's a whole middle section of this piece of paper right here.
Oh, that's exciting.
I definitely do want to talk about Wilmington and also Philadelphia too, because you've had your feet in both camps. Not that we're warring camps or anything like that, but how did you start engaging in the scene, like both in Wilmington, obviously, because it was just the closest place for you to engage in, and then like to come up to Philly too, because there's a lot of great talent in Wilmington that oftentimes I feel like doesn't really leave its general area and come up to the city, and there's a lot of talent here in the city that doesn't go down there. We are very much sister cities when it comes to art, and we're very close to each other. So.
Well, exactly. We are very close to each other. I think I'm kind of an outlier when it comes to my willingness to drive other places.
Yeah.
And I get this from my parents. I mean, we tell a joke. There's a story. This couple times when I was a kid, we drove up to Binghamton for pizza.
Wow.
From Danbury. It's 180 miles.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Because there was a really good pizza place that my dad found while he was, on assignment in Binghamton.
Yeah.
And so we drove up to Binghamton for pizza. Like, it was good pizza.
I would hope so.
But that was the kind of like life that my parents just like, oh, there's a cool thing. And
let's go to the thing.
Let's go to the cool thing. We'll get in the car for a little while. We'll get to the thing. We have some fun. We'll go home. Like, so it doesn't bother me to like get in the car and go places. And I find that is weird to people.
Yeah.
Like there are people who don't do that. I like to get in the car and go to the thing. Like I will, there's a really cool band that I love playing in New York tonight on Wednesday. And, I have to be at work at 7:30 in the morning. Okay, well, fine. I will drive up to New York after work. This is what I used to do before my son was born.
Yeah.
I'll just drive up to New York, go to the show, drive home, crash, be at work in time for 7:30 in the morning. Like, whatever. It's fine. So that's how I end up with my feet in both towns, specifically.
Yeah.
But that said, the actual in that I had to the Philly world was through the World Cafe Live open mic, where I met Boy Wonder.
Yep.
And then a friend of mine suggested the Dobbs open mic when that first got started.
Yeah, the one that John was running.
Exactly, that John Fay was running. And then when I met John Fay, and then I met a whole bunch of people.
I imagine you met Jay almost immediately upon meeting John Fay, because Jay pretty much parked himself there for a couple of years.
And that's how I met Jay, exactly.
Yeah.
Although what's very funny about that situation is that like I was only kind of vaguely aware of Jay.
Yeah.
Until I was on WSTW Hometown Heroes for some reason or another, and Jay texted in that he was enjoying the show while I was on, and they played Annabelle.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really good. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I'm Facebook friends with this dude? Because that's how it happens.
Yep.
And then I looked through our common Facebook friends and found out that he was friends with my friend's late husband, who had passed away of leukemia.
Yeah.
And I asked him about that, and he was like, oh, we were fraternity brothers. I didn't really know him very well, but like we were fraternity brothers. And I knew about what happened to him. And then I asked him to be part of a benefit that I was running to raise money for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. So I did this Leukemia Lymphoma Society benefit with Venice Sunlight that we both did in memory of this mutual friend who was a fraternity brother of Dave's and, of Jay's rather.
Yeah.
His name was the fraternity brother in question, the late husband. His name was Dave.
Okay. So that's how you met all the guys up there.
Yeah. And so then, if I'm enjoying something enough, I will go every week.
Yeah.
I just was hanging out. I've been hanging out in the neighborhood a lot recently because my friend was doing the songbird competition. Mm-hmm. And I made all these friends with the other people in the competition doing songbird. And I love them. And so that's how I do everything.
Yeah. Because I think that's how
I'll just show up.
I think that's how we met you, was through like the open mic scene.
Yep.
You probably met James, and then that's probably how you met the rest of us.
Yes.
I definitely remember like running into you on the street in Wilmington at some point when we were like loading in or something.
Yeah,
for,
I
like,
kind
a
of
Gable
remember
thing.
that.
Yeah.
I think.
We can't talk about Wilmington without talking about Gable too.
No, you can't.
Because were
God
you
bless them.
Were you playing music in Wilmington before they started to be part of the scene?
Exactly, yes.
And what was that like before they came up? I mean, I'm sure there were avenues, but probably not nearly as many.
No, not nearly as many. I was showing up to open mics. I think the Bellefonte Cafe had an open mic. That's where I got my real first start. I was playing there all the time and playing, Sunday brunch sets at the Bellefonte Cafe. And then Mojo 13, I started going to their open mic. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
The one in Claymont?
Yep.
God, we played sets there.
With the big scary clown.
With the big freaky circus motif. That's the first time I ever met Mark Rogers, actually. Mark
Rogers.
Was there, and he already knew about us, though. That was back in the Sober Cats days. But he had already kind of known about us, too, because we had played the World Cafe thing.
Yeah.
And it was weird. And then, like, later we ended up having more of a relationship with him, but it's wild, the people that you meet and then you kind of press pause for 2 or 3 years and look back and be like, oh yeah, I know you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Apache Trails, that's Jason Webb and Devin Zito.
Yeah.
Like, they were the holdup in those days. And they were, I stole a bunch of the guys from the holdup to be my backing band for the first EP before Lilac Face, Happy.
Yeah.
That's pretty much rightfully forgotten.
It's all there. It's all part of the growth.
The Pantheon.
It's all part of the Pantheon. So but before Gable, there was probably not a ton of places to play.
No.
And there wasn't much of a scene at all. Again, it never once entered our minds to play Wilmington until like probably the first year that Jeremy and Gail started booking shows like out of like the Chris White Gallery. Down in the basement. And I remember the first gig I ever did with them, we went there, we played with them, and I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of this band, but they're very nice guys. And I remember going to that show, and I think like there were maybe 15 or 20 people at that show, but but we still got, like, Gail still made sure we ate. And we had some beers, and we got paid at the end of that. We were not even expecting to get paid. I think I tried to give it back to Jeremy or something like that, where he was just like, "Well, look, we gotta give you something." I was just like, "No, you don't." Like, it's like, look, but that was their ethos. They're just like, even if it's like, at the end of the show, we have $5 and the band has $30, then the band gets $30 and we have $5. Like, that's...
Everybody got money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I love most about the Gable ethos.
Yeah.
I think they're wonderful
people. It's respect.
My first show with them was almost exactly 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was... So, they the singer-songwriter showcase was originally something called The Six. Mm-hmm. They did a 6 with 6 guys, and then they did a second 6 with 6 women. And it was me, Noelle Picara.
Ah, Noelle.
I freaking love
You can just start naming alum.
She's on Empty Cup, by the way.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's playing Rhodes.
Oh, that's
on
great.
Empty Cup. Yeah, I never do anything without Noel. Let's be honest.
Why would once you start doing things with Noel, why would you want to not do
Exactly.
things?
Exactly. Like, she's on all my records. Well, except for the first one because I didn't know her yet.
Yeah.
But she will be on all of the future ones.
Gotcha.
So it was me and Noel, Hannah Zayak,
Yeah.
and I'm terrible. I don't remember who the other three were, but for God's sakes, it was 5 years ago. And so we played this show at Film Brothers, and that was my first Gable event. And now I try to play a show with Gable at least once a year, probably more. I mean, it's hard to, especially now, but yeah. So that's how I got my in. That's the Wilmington.
It really is such a vibrant, cool little thing down there, and as much as the talent of like the caliber of talent of songwriters, of musicians and stuff that exists down in that area, and it's not just Wilmington in general, but sort of a 30-ish mile radius around it.
Mm-hmm.
And the talent is amazing, but I don't like you can't have what is going on in Wilmington right now without Gable, without Jeremy and Gail, and the other people that work for them. I just don't know the names of all the people who work for them. It started as a 2-person operation, and I know they've got a couple more people helping them out right now.
There's Alex. Alex is working there. Alex Mazzo. But I don't think that they really have a lot more people in there.
Wow, it's still them.
Still just a really small, mom and pop is not the right word, but you understand what I'm saying. Like, it's
boutique.
Boutique. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. But you know what? They do a really good job.
They do an amazing job.
And I'm
their relationships with the major venues down there. And I remember Jeremy recently bemoaning, while not naming names because he's a classy dude, but sort of bemoaning the end of a relationship with a particularly difficult venue, which again, I don't know who he's talking about, and
Nor do I.
Not trying to find out. I think it speaks a lot about him that he did not. He wanted to talk about the feelings, but he didn't want to name names, which I think is amazingly classy of him. So often in this business, people are very ready to just throw anybody under the bus.
Yes.
But for him to then continue to have like great relationships with, for him and Gail, they have great relationships with like World Cafe Live down there and all the other stuff. Like, I don't think you would have the scene and the level of talent. They would go somewhere else, or they wouldn't go at all.
Yep.
Like, what would be the impetus to start a band in a place where there was nowhere to play? So they gave places to play in hopes that young people would start bands. I remember Jeremy saying to me, he says it's his favorite thing to like go see a band of like 20-year-olds and just be like, holy crap, you guys are so good.
Yeah.
Like,
my I have this so one of my 6 jobs right now is I'm teaching music at my synagogue's religious school, and I have this 13-year-old kid who's my assistant, and like I'm totally psyched to. Well, he's already working with Jeremy and Gail, and playing like Wilmo Wednesdays and things like that, because this kid is better than I am. He's which isn't saying a whole lot, but he's really good, and he's John Fay's voice student.
Oh,
this kid,
yeah.
And when I had the "Hey, I know this kid too" conversation with John, I was like, John, these fucking kids are better than us. What the hell? And he was like, I know.
Oh gosh, the number of times that I'll like see some band of like kids in like 19, early 20s, and I'll just be like, these kids, like, it's not just even them being technically better than us, like that can run the gamut of any. I mean, there's a lot of people who are technically better than me. There are tons of them, but like
everyone is technically better than
me. But the level at which they write songs and the level at which they sort of like present themselves as bands, and they have their shit together in ways that like I didn't have at 20. My God.
I babysit for a 5th grader. Now, this is honest to God truth. I babysit for a 5th grader who is writing a movie with her friends. And
you can do that now. It's
you can
great.
do that
on
now.
Your phone.
They're composing incidental music. I didn't
even know what that was until college.
She's good, and she's like playing me this stuff, and I'm like, "What the heck, Dylan? Like, I don't understand. How are you this like? How do you have all of this at your fingertips? I couldn't have done this. But you know what? It's because they have GarageBand. And
they have GarageBand, and
all these
you can shoot stuff on your phone, and that's not even looked at as being stupid. Like, it's just like there are whole film festivals based on like things shot on people's phones and tablets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now these kids. Well, no, but the level of talent is insane, and at times you get a great combination of kids who are going to be inherently talented anyway. Just it's in their personality, it's in their DNA, and whether they had been born 100 years ago or now kind of wouldn't have mattered. They still would have been very talented at the thing that they were trying to do. But now they have access to all this stuff. I couldn't record. I mean, we were recording records when I was a teenager, but it was just like all on like 4-track Tascam cassette and like very questionable quality. But that was what we had, and we put it out, and that was what we had. These kids have access to this really high-end technology right now. And yeah, you can squander it and just make stupid crap, but there's a certain percentage of these kids that not only embrace how to use the technology, but actually have something to say in the first place. And I think that's the cool part. That's the fun meeting of technology and young people right now. Is that the ones who do have an interesting point of view, who are thoughtful and intelligent and artistic, you can do whatever the hell you want. You just literally do whatever the hell you want in like a weekend. You can make a whole movie in a weekend. Yeah. You record 3 records in a weekend. Like...
No, I can't. I can't record. I can't write a song in a weekend. No, that's not true. I mean, some of my songs are 15 minutes, but like still, the things that these kids can do today, it's really amazing. And they have all the time in the world. They have all the time in the world. I
don't know where we're going with all this.
Where are we going with all that? I don't know.
No, that's
it's damn kids. No,
it all comes. Yeah, no, it all comes full circle to the level of talent cultivated in Wilmington, the level of talent cultivated here in Philadelphia too. And just, it's not even about getting famous or like selling a bunch of records. It's about the people that you meet and like just the little communities that you make. And those are fun. And those are worth it. Like in the end, like I wouldn't trade the particular way that I went about doing things for... No, I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's fine. I don't care. In fact, if we'd become successful in a full-time band, I don't think we would have known what to do with it.
There you go. I wish I could pay my bills. I think that's the one thing that I would change about my current musical exploits is I would like to be able to pay my bills.
That it was like sort of self-perpetuating, that you could at least, if it was a pursuit that sort of paid for itself.
That would be nice.
No, I feel the same way about the podcast too, where it's like, I'd love to get to a point where this kind of pays for itself. I don't have huge expenses. I mean, neither of us, I imagine, have like massive expenses incurred in the artistic things that we're doing, but still it'd be nice if it just kind of took care of itself.
Yeah. Yes. I don't need to be famous. I don't need, I don't need
all the money, but some of it would be nice.
But it would be nice. It would be nice to not like worry about how am I going to pay for this week's groceries, like things like that. And I would like to see that happen for everybody making music. And I think that musicians and artists in general are undervalued by our society in that regard. And getting back to the Future of Music Coalition and their goals to make a musician's middle class, that's why I support that particular group. But that's the way I feel about life, is that we're all in the same boat together.
Well, I think we've just solved everything right there.
Just listen to me. Like,
people of the world, just listen to Rachel Schain, and it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. Don't be a dick. Care about other people. Yeah. And we'll all get through it just fine.
I think it's a good
place.
Fix
all the problems.
I think that's a good place to leave it.
Okay.
Did you want to play the guitar, or did you not come prepared for that? I have guitars.
My guitar is in my car. I am at this stage in the game more interested in people hearing the album versions of things. If that's okay by you?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I really want people to hear the album. They can hear me live, whenever. The album, I think, is the really exciting thing for me. Yeah. I'm very, very proud of this. It
sounds great. It's a different. You're going in a different direction sonically. Not in a radically different direction, but there's definitely. I definitely see it as a progression.
Thank you.
So yeah, okay. Let's just do that. Let's just play. Which one do you want me to play for the people?
If we're gonna go from a progression standpoint, let's do Empty Cup.
Okay, cool.
please play Empty Cup.
I will play Empty Cup by Rachel Schain. Rachel, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
Yep.
Can I become just who I dream to be? How can I become just who I dream to be? How can I become just who I dream to be? I'm sorry, I've been so quiet. I never meant to ghost, but I don't have much time, a minute at the most. See, it's all on my shoulders. I run the whole show. If I'm not there to do it, who will? No one knows. I'm stretched in all directions, fighting off a deep depression, thinking I should just give up. This feeling cannot shake it, wonder if I'll ever make it, and my stress levels ramping up. But I cannot pour from an empty cup. I know I sound ungrateful. I know how good things are. I have so many blessings, but I'm shooting for a star. I'm stretched in all directions, fighting off a deep depression, thinking I should just give up. This feeling cannot shake it, I wonder if I'll ever make it, and my stress levels ramping up. But I cannot pour from an empty cup. No, and I'm not a priority. How can I arrive at where I wanna be if I'm not a priority? How can I become just who I dream to be? I'm stretched in all directions, fighting off a deep depression, thinking I should just give up. This feeling cannot shake it, wonder if I'll ever make it, and my stress levels ramping up. But I cannot pour from an empty cup. No, empty cup.
We'll be together till the end of time. 25
Well, that's the show this week. Thanks so much for hanging out. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks to Rachel Schain. the inimitable Rachel Schain for being on the show. We talked a lot longer than what made the episode this week, and I didn't want to make this like a 2-hour episode, so I will probably release out a large excerpt of our conversation that I took out simply for time. Because she and I have known each other for a while, but the great thing about knowing someone for a while like that is when you don't see them for quite a bit, you have a lot of catching up to do, and I think we were kind of doing that as well as doing the conversation for the episode. Anyway, it was great to have her on the show. She has a new EP out. It's called Enough. You can get it on iTunes, on Amazon, on Spotify, all the digital places. You can check out her website, rachelschain.com. She's on Facebook. She's on Twitter. She's everywhere. rachelschain.com. The new EP is called Enough. Oh, that's going to do it for this week. Thank you all so much for being here. Thanks for listening. Go to 25o'clockpod.com. Check out the archives. Sign the mailing list. It's very easy to do, and I only send out an email every couple of weeks when a new episode is coming out. And for those of you on the mailing list, no, I don't even always remember to do that. So 25o'clockpod.com, that's where you go. That's where you get it all done. Thanks again to CBI, College Broadcasters Incorporated, for having me speak at their conference last weekend. It was great. I had a good time. I like to talk. I like to talk in front of people. I think the fact that I have a podcast is pretty indicative of that fact. Anyway, thanks so much. Thanks for enjoying the show. Hope to catch you again. We'll catch you all in a couple of weeks. My name is Dan Drago, and you've been listening to 25 O'Clock. Take care of yourselves. See you next time.